Okay, so are we good now?
Wait a little.
Okay, so we're ready, I think.
Wait. That's better. Yes.
Oh, yeah, very good. Okay, so, well, good afternoon. This is Adebayo Adegbite from Nigeria, and this is another edition of Art Connect Africa International Markets. It's an interview series where we talk to professionals from across the world um, for Arts Connect Africa to get their opinions on the music industry and the role of professionals in the creative industry. So today, to add a perspective to this issue is the first woman on the series, interestingly enough, Fabiola Pazmiño from Ecuador. She's going to be sharing her insights with us on the South American creative industry. So Fabiola, it's nice to have you around, and I hope that we'll have a very interesting conversation.
Thank you so much for inviting me, and I am very glad to have this conversation with you.
Oh, okay. So let's get on with it. Um, Now, okay, question that I've often asked for the people in South America that I've talked to is I don't know how much experience you have of the African creative industry, but I know you are you're professional in South America, obviously. So, okay, from what do you think, what do you think is interesting in okay, what does Latino America touring circuit look like compared to perhaps what you know of the African touring circuit? So can you just give us an insight into the Latino touring circuit, the South American touring circuit generally?
Of course, Latino America is it's a very interesting continent because we are a very big continent, and every country, as in Africa, has many different cultural experiences, cultural projects, and it's very interesting to understand that trying to understand a continent it's a very complicated and rich and interesting project, because you have to know that in every country and in every side of the continent you might find very different way of communicate our culture. So what we are doing right now in Latin America is trying to keep together, because since it's a big continent, we might have complications in the circulation of our projects. And there are countries like Brazil that it's so huge, so big, that has an industry by itself. So a lot of Brazilian musicians, artists, don't even get out of Brazil because they have so many territory to travel around and to circulate, that they don't even need to go out of Brazil to be professional and to have like an industry, a local industry. But the interesting thing that is happening right now is that we are connecting much better because of the conferences, cultural markets, festivals, and we are sharing a lot of our music, of our culture in this kind of encounters that we have. So this is also a situation that we can see in Mexico. Mexico is also a very big country that has a lot of impact in South America, especially because our culture, our pop culture, sees a lot up to what's happening in Mexico, in the United States, and we are very connected with those expressions. So that's very interesting, because Mexico, because it's also a big country, has also a local industry, a very powerful local industry, and what we are doing now is opening these industries and trying to create a Latin America connected industry. So we here in South America, Ecuador is a very small country. It's between Colombia and Peru,
Yeah.
and Peru, exactly. So it's interesting to see that even with Peru, we don't have much communication. We don't have much networking, but we have a lot of things in common, because we were the same country. We were the same thing.
Oh, yeah.
Back in history.
Interesting. Because, well,
Yes.
does that have to do with the fact that perhaps I think Peru, the language is Spanish, while Ecuador, I think is Portuguese, right? If I
No, we speak Spanish.
Spanish as well. Oh, okay,
The
okay,
only
okay.
mhm. The only country that speaks Portuguese in South
Brazil.
America is Brazil.
Brazil. Oh, yeah.
Then, yeah, then we all are Spanish-speaking country. Brazil, I mean Colombia, Peru, Bolivia, Ecuador, Chile, Argentina, Uruguay, Paraguay. We are all Spanish-speaking countries, but we have a lot of native languages. So we have
Yes.
yes, we have the languages from the natives, from the Indians, and that's also very rich and amazing, because it's very connected between the indigenous from every country in South America, and in Central in North America too. The indigenous culture is the culture that keeps us together, because it's what we have in common.
Come on,
So
yes.
that's very interesting.
Yeah, okay, so
Mhm.
that's the nature of literary circuits in Latin America. So now, the very interesting insight from you, and that leads me to the next question, and that's the question of the African creative industry. So, do you think there is anything in common? Of course, you've talked about what you Latino American professionals have in common with each other. So, do you think there is anything the African creative industry has in common with the Latino America creative industry?
Well, I would say we have much more in common than we think. Really, beginning with the fact that Africa is a mother culture. So a lot of the culture, of the music, of the instruments, of the rhythms that we have here, they come from Africa. So it's of course very, very nice, very interesting to find where we have this points in common. We are Ecuador. We are in the middle of the world, because of the line, and that's exactly what happens in Africa, on the other side of the world. So we are like siblings in
Yes.
different parts of the universe, but we have very similar situations. I think we have also Africa and Latin America have this problem in the universe that people really don't think about the continent as rich as they are. They just think like in one very tiny part of the continent, and they think that that's Africa, or that's South America, that's Latin America. I don't know. You say Africa, and many people think, okay, safaris and
Yeah.
wild animals,
Exactly.
and it's like, no, we are much more than that. We are that, and we are much more than that. And exactly happens with South America, with Latin America. You say that, and people think like, oh, it's very hot, or it's very salsa.
Contagious.
Latino,
Yeah, it's very
caliente,
mountain
and
of
it's
disbursement. At least it's, for example, in Africa, we hear a lot about, okay, I'm a football watcher and I sort of follow the South American, the CONMEBOL thing because of, well, perhaps they're on a or something. Or what we hear about Ecuador is that it's a very high region, like, so like, that's one of the memories we have of Ecuador. But thank you very much for that bit of insight about how the Latino America thing is not a country. Well, sorry for cutting you in there, but I think you're making a point about how where Africa and South America, Latino America have like that a point of like that thing in common. Yeah, before I broke in with that little tidbit.
Mhm. So yes, then what we have in common, as I was telling, is the heritage. No, it's first of all, the origin of our cultures are they come from Africa, and you can see that in the music that we have. We have in Ecuador, for example, we have a very big Afro Ecuadorian music in the region of Esmeraldas, which is in the Pacific, next to Colombia. So Colombia and Ecuador share this Afro Pacifican music culture, and you can see how important the impact of the travel of the culture to America has in our music. But then, if you see in the industry, I think we can also say we share the differences. So we can share the thing that we have a lot of famous musicians, famous artists that are like reference in the whole world. I know, like we have in Brazil. Musicians very important like Gilberto Gil that are famous in the whole world, but you have also Asalif Keita, and you know that these figures share like the main industry, like the mainstream industry, but in the industry of the smaller industry, the independent artist music industry, I think we have a lot in common. We have to fight with the big things of the industry. We have to keep identity. We have to keep exploring all culture, so we can propose important, relevant music with content, and we have to find the way to meet each other in different parts of the world, like markets, conferences, so we can talk and we can learn. And I think that's exactly the same in Africa or in Latin America, because we need to contact, we need to share what's happening in our countries. And sometimes we forget to do that in the same region. So sometimes I get to know people from Colombia in a market, in a conference that is happening in Spain. And the important thing is that we keep together as a region and we keep talking. And I think that's very similar in Africa and in South America.
That actually, thank you very much for again that very, very insightful submission, because like it does sort of answer, well, it does sort of answer my next question that I wanted to ask you about. What do you think both industries can offer each other in terms of talent? Because in Africa here we've had like a what do I call it, a musical revolution of recent, where we have Rema from Nigeria here and Selena Gomez from I think from Mexico, but there has been like, we have like some J Balvin who have also maybe collaborated with African artists as well. So of course there is some potential, definitely. So well, so I just want to get your perspective, since you've actually raised some very important issues, some very important points. But I want to get your perspective on what you think Africa and the Latino America industries can offer each other. As in, how do you think they can benefit from each other?
Okay, that's a very interesting question, because as you say, we have the mainstream industry and artists that are very famous in the whole world, like Shakira and Bad Bunny, and those kind of artists also represent the Latino community, but with a lot of the USA input, right? Like
Yes.
the main industry of the world is very based on how things work in USA.
USA, yes.
Yes, but that's very different here in smaller countries or in Latino countries like in South America. And I think what we have to share definitely is this knowledge, the knowledge of the cultures. We just had here in Quito a group from Benin, Africa, the Harmonies Brass Band. They were in the jazz festival, and it was so interesting to see how these musicians from the other side of the world share so much with us. And that's what we have to know, because knowledge is power. We have to know our countries deep, and we have to investigate more about what's happening in Africa, which countries are producing new music, how are they sharing their music in other markets, not only in Africa markets or the closest markets in the region. So we have to get in touch with them. So this kind of networking that we are participating, the CCLA or the African connections, that's so interesting. That's so necessary, because we get to talk in this networking between us, but then we are having this right now. We are sharing the Latin America network with the Africa network, and we get to chat and to talk and to discuss how we can create stronger ways to exchange culture. So what I think we have to do is start connecting also musicians from Africa and from Latin America, and start to making them to connect, to share, to create. I think experiences like residences, cultural residences, are so interesting. Like musicians from Africa coming to Latin America, and musicians from Latin America going to Africa, and really to spend, like, I don't know, 1, 2, 3 weeks, to spend the time there, to have the food we have here, you have there, to listen the music, to know musicians. And that's the best way to create really a community that knows how it looks in the other side of the world, and that we have to understand by experiencing that we are not so different, and that all the difference they are telling us we have are superficial. They are not they are not really
Real, yes, they are not,
yes.
we don't have a barrier between us. Because, interestingly enough, on what you've said, when I talked with Salman, the conversation I had with Salman was talking about how there's the Angolan rumba music, I think, yeah. So the Angolan rumba music it resonates very highly with people in Colombia. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I found that extremely insightful as to how music from Angola in Africa, Colombia, and as you said, Colombia is not a Portuguese-speaking country, so it's not like the Portuguese connection. So I think it
Mm-hmm.
just sort of buttresses the point you made about, Africa and Latino America being more similar than we are different, which is very interesting. So, well, so thank
Yes.
you very much for that bit of insight. So, and then I think you've again, touched on the next question I wanted to ask about, the collaboration between the ACA and the CCLA. The question I usually ask is, how this collaboration will help professionals. because of course, the discussion is always about how it helps creatives. Everybody says, well, we've talked about music, creatives should do more music, but then we're talking about, professionals as well, event organizers, perhaps, people, well, concert organizers, people manage residencies and all that. So yes, it's a very interesting perspective. So, well, now my next question, which is actually going to be the second to the last, is going to be about, with everything you said about the need for collaboration and how the AC and CCLA are working together. So what are your hopes now beyond, well, perhaps facts or statistics or, well, observations? I just want to get your own, perhaps, opinion or perhaps hopes about the future of the collaboration between Latino America and Africa. What do you think? What do you think the future is? What do you think will happen? Is it something that will go on, or is it something that perhaps is? So, what do you think? Your hopes for the future? I hope you get that question.
Yes. I have a lot of hopes about these collaborations because I can imagine an industry where we are sharing knowledge and experiences from both sides, and it's not something spectacular or something that is not common. I would really love to have an industry where we really are together, and that's the regular thing. That's the normal thing that we have projects together, that you and I can go to a market, to a conference in Spain, and that we both have a project together. That this is the product of our residency, that we work together, and this is what we are showing you now. Music from Ecuador and from Angola, that is music from the world, So I think that what we have to do is to use all these beautiful things that we are having now to communicate, the internet and the networks, and start to push so that we really work together, not only once in a while, and not only with a tiny project that maybe consists usually in that a band from Ecuador goes to Africa and a band from Africa comes to Ecuador. No, we have to work on building something strong, where we really know that when I go to a festival in Colombia and I don't see any musicians, any professionals from Africa, then I think I really need to ask, okay, what's happening? Why is no presence from Africa here? We need to stay communicated, and we need to stay present in everything we do. And when we don't have the presence of all the continents, then we have to ask why, what is happening, and where do we have to do, what do we have to do to make this stronger, because it's important. And I think that's the thing. We have to start asking ourselves questions in the industry, and not normalizing the separation. We have to keep us together, but making important questions, and also pushing and making things so that it's not normal that we don't stay together. I don't know if I am clear.
I think I get that, and I think it's a very important, crucial point, and I think it's something common to all the people we've talked to, that it's very, very important. And then we hope that the ACA and then the CCLA will also continue to push in that vein. That it's great that now everybody is recognizing that there's a need to, because I think that's actually what has plagued Africa for a very long time. Especially in Africa, we didn't really think, or perhaps we thought, but we didn't have the facilities to really get out. But just as you said, thanks to the internet and thanks to the facilities we have, there is so much promise and so much to do together. So, well, I think that will be a very, very good time or very good place to end the interview with. Thank you very much, Fabiola. I really appreciate this time.
Yes.
Very, very great talking with you. Like, I love the energy and, the way you've dealt with the issues. It's really been an illuminating time talking to you. So we have a more interesting, I hope you have a more interesting conversation on this. Of course, it's a long conversation, it doesn't end. So I hope that we have a chance to talk about this again.
Yes. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much again. I really, really appreciate you for coming on today. Okay, and so this is once again, you're welcome to Arts Connect Africa's Industry Conversations International Market. And Adebayo Adegbite from Nigeria, have been having a cross-continental discussion. That's still mind-blowing with Fabiola Pazmiño from Ecuador.
Yes, thank you, Adebayo, for the invitation. It was really nice talking to you and getting to know you. And thank you for letting us dream of a music world, a musical world where we are all connected. That's very important. So let's keep trying, let's keep doing that, and let's keep talking. That's very important.
Okay, so thank you very much. So until I come back again with another edition of Arts Connect Africa Industry Conversations, thank you very much. See you around on the next conversation. Yeah.
Bye.
Yeah, bye.